Heyo! Alright everybody, as always I'm Sean. This is Uneducated Gamer as we continue our Off Their Perch Challenge. Season 1, Episode 3 we're up to. If you sat through that last episode, we went through our tactic and everything in great depth. Maybe it wasn't the most exciting episode in the world, but it's an important reference point for the rest of the series and going forward and all that sort of thing. Hopefully it made sense to you. Hopefully there's some kind of rationale behind it and I'm not just some crazy nutcase obsessing over numbers and digits on digital men who aren't even real. Oh shit, I am that. I'm just having that moment of self-realisation now. But in this episode, we're actually going to go through our squad in great depth. We'll go through our squad, introduce you to players and everything. We'll go through the guys that we've let go of, the guys that we've brought in, and also a bit of review of our pre-season as well. So we might as well start at the start with the transfers. We actually haven't had that many. We let 5 players go at the start of the season. We let go Sam Madley and Mike Norton, who are 2 strikers. That'll make sense if you think back to our formation. We are playing a 4-3-3, which has only 1 striker up top, so we didn't need 5 on the books. We already currently have 3 in the squad, but we'll introduce you to them shortly. Rory Fallon left as well, just by way of being the worst winger that we had in the team. If we go here to his attacking winger attack key attributes, where are we? Highlight key attributes. You can see here, hasn't got double figures for any of the technical stats, any of the mental ones, and his physical stuff is really only pace and acceleration. We actually have players who have better pace and acceleration in their arsenal anyway, in like Sean Cook and Jerome Wright. So when you have better options available in terms of sheer pace, it doesn't make sense to retain him. So we let him go. We released him on a free, actually, as we did with Biyanu as well. Biyanu actually hung around for a little bit and played in a couple of our pre-season friendlies. We'll go through those later, and he was absolutely fucking horrendous. You can see here, 1 corners crossing, dribbling, finishing, and penalty taking is absolutely terrible, even for this level, which is basically the bottom level in the game. Good physically, good mentally, but just like a fucking liability back there. So he went straight out after a friendly that we had earlier in the pre-season. James Knowles as well, maybe would have been okay to hang around with as a central defender and a backup anchorman. However, with Ashworth and Lynch as our central defensive partnership, 7 heading, 5 marking and 6 tackling wasn't good enough for him to hang around. So that's the reasoning between those guys going. And the players that we've brought in, Abbott and Grant, we'll go through them shortly. They are both just juniors. Abbott was 19 when we signed him. He's since turned 20, which is good for him. Ben Grant is only 18. He's been brought in for backup at the central midfield roles. Abbott will be back up for both central defence, and we might train him to be a midfield anchorman as well. But that's those guys, nothing to write home about. Now let's have a look at the squad and introduce you to everyone. If you think back to the tactic, I've tried to pick 2 players for every role. Not necessarily every position, 2 players for every role, and then that also means that roles where we have like duplications, like the advanced playmakers and central defenders, we've got 3. We've got 3 for those positions, but we have some versatile players that can fit into other spots as well. So we've got 21 as our total squad, which I think is more than enough. I was probably looking at getting maybe 20, but considering we're also going to keep the uneducated 4-4-2 or the finger formation as our backup there, I thought it was maybe handy to keep 1 extra player who we'll go through further in a little bit. Let's start at the back at goalkeepers. We're going to have Lewis King going up against David Carnell. If we go to goalkeeper and defend, which are the key stats, and it's already highlighting the key attributes, you can see here King, despite only being 22, actually has quite a few of these very high. I used I used double figure scores as being like the barometer. So of these 14 attributes, we would imagine that he has a score of like 1 out of 14. And that's how we decide who we retain and who's going to play. The big thing with King though is if you think he's going to play the majority of the games this year, that's 40 appearances he'll likely get. A lot of these 8s and 9s, of which he has a ton, are very quickly going to turn into 10s. I think that's reflected in our assistant, who has absolutely no idea about potential ability at all, saying that he's going to be a 5-star player in the future. So we're going to give him time to develop. It's probably risky having a goalkeeper develop, but being 22, he's probably more than capable of playing at a higher level if we can get these 9s and 8s to turn into 10s, which I think he will over the course of a season. His backup will be David Carnell, who is way more established, and you can see that in his scores here. If we're going to use the same principle, out of the 14 key attributes, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the 14 that we need, so he's very much established, but being 30, he's not really going to improve any further on what he is now. But more than handy to have him as a backup goalkeeper if we need be. He's more than comfortable at this level if we require it. Fullback, we'll start with the right-hand side first. Dean Stott, who is mainly a centre-back, is also natural at the right-back position though. We're going to play him as our supporting fullback. Reason for that is his penalty taking here. 17 penalties is insane. It's basically as close as you're going to get to a sure thing. Thinking back to our most recent series, the Australian Dynasty one in FM2015, I don't think Eric Partey ever missed a penalty, and he's only 15. So it's important to have somebody out there that can finish those chances for you. His marking and tackling are both fantastic. Passing is pretty good. Crossing probably needs a little bit of work. He may not be the greatest support of all time in that right fullback role. However, good mental stats, okay physicals, nothing to write home about, but I'm more than happy to stick him on the right-hand side there. Close to his full ability, so we wouldn't look to retain him beyond this season, and he's on quite a bit of money, so we'll keep him, and also because he can play central defence as well, if need be, if anything happens to the other two. But the backup to him, and pushing him for that starting spot, will be Adam Thurston, only 20 years old, so just a youngster. If we look at his fullback support, see his crossing's actually a little bit better, but his passing marking need to improve. Okay physically as well, not the strongest spot in our entire squad, the right back position, but I think Stott is more than capable. And of course, if Thurston starts to fulfill some of this potential, if he gets himself a decent run in the side, he could be a very good player for us as well. On the left-hand side, we are going to start with Liam Brownhill. Similar to Stott, maybe doesn't have the greatest stat set in the world, but his crossing is absolutely phenomenal. He can cross on either foot, which will be great for us. Good corners, good crossing, 17 free kick taking. Again, think back to that Australian Dynasty series. We had probably 4 different players that had 13 rated free kicks, and we could never get them on target. We very rarely scored from them. It was just so infuriating. So hopefully having someone that's a decent free kick taker and a bit of ability from the dead ball will give our team an extra dimension, both in terms of corners and free kicks, which is good. His passing and marking both need work. His tackling is fine. His stamina's pretty good. He'll move up and down that touchline all day. And being either-footed is pretty rare at this level, so we're going to give him an opportunity on the left. His backup will be Scott Cheatham, who is also only 21, so a bit of a younger player. Fullback support, if we bring up his stats, you can see here, not as great with the ball, but solid mental attributes, really solid physical attributes as well. And given that he's only 21 and very versatile, he can play literally anywhere along the left-hand side as a natural player, as well as anchoring the midfield as a competent anchorman. His versatility will be important for us as well, and I'm more than happy to throw him in if need be, if anything happens to either fullback. So that's him. Our centre-backs, we have 3. We briefly mentioned one earlier, Chris Abbott. We brought him in on a free transfer. You can see here, if we go central defender defend, he's got quite a few of the stats already. I think it's 12 stats for this 12 key attributes for this position. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So phenomenal from him. Really, really good. Not predicted to have that much potential ability, but I don't trust that at all. It's probably referring to potential ability in terms of how great a limited defender he'll become. He can already fulfill a lot of the roles within central defender at this level. Ex-Bristol City youth player, actually took last season off, didn't play in 14-15, probably because he thought it was better than this level, but he's clearly pulled his head in now. He'll be the backup for these two though, Luke Ashworth and Chris Linth, 24 and 25 between them. Good experience at this level before. Their stats maybe don't reflect as well as, what's his name's do? Who was he? Abbott's do. However, really solid heading, marking and tackling. Those 9s will quickly become 10s if they're playing every week. Good determination, which I think is always really important in terms of a player development. Good jumping reach, good strength, solid pace as well for both is very important to us. And Lynch is virtually a carbon copy. His heading's a little bit better. His tackling's a little bit better. Solid natural fitness, good jumping reach. His strength maybe needs a little bit of work, but I'm fine with that. And given that we're holding a very deep defensive line, we probably don't need him to have a tremendous amount of pace. But they'll start as our central defensive partnership. And then we, of course, have players like Stott that can slide in there. We have Abbott who can slide in as well. David Perch, who we'll talk about further in a moment, can play there as well. So good depth across the back line. Fullback positions we maybe need to strengthen a little bit, but I'm going to give the guys that were already at the club an opportunity first time round. As our anchor man, we're going to have Tom Brown, who you see here, probably similar to Lewis King. We're going to bring him in and play him more on his potential than his actual current ability. He's actually an ex-Manchester United and Blackburn player during his youth career. Never made an appearance for either of those sides, but came to FC United, made 20 appearances and scored 1 goal. Just more on potential, really, than his actual ability. You can see here he's supposed to be higher than 5 stars. That's usually when the last one's blacked out. It means he can play at a high level. Yet to reach that potential fully. But if we go anchorman and defend, it'll bring his roles up here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 key attributes. He already has 1, 2, 3, 4 of those over double figures, and a lot of those are 8s and 9s that you see here as well. So if he's playing the majority of the games, he should be able to transition into that role very quickly, and he has been working on it throughout the course of pre-season, but we'll go through everyone's pre-season training in a moment. The backup to him, we mentioned him briefly earlier, will be David Perch. He's kind of the opposite, so his potential is already very much filled. his potential is already pretty much fulfilled. He's solid as an anchorman. He's a decent marker, passer, and tackler. It's his physical attributes that concern me the most. Natural fitness is fine, but only 4 pace, 4 acceleration. We are playing that high pressing game in the central midfield. So I'm going to probably give Brown the nod for that reason only. He can close down men a little bit quicker. But Perch had a long and storied career around these sort of levels and looks to be a very solid backup option to have. Really good mental attributes. It's just his physicals that let him down. So he'll be the backup to Tom Brown, and we might even get him tutoring Tom Brown at some point throughout the year, though both are on non-contracts. It may not be an option while that's going on. Our advanced playmaker positions. Now, one of the big reasons that we swapped from the finger formation, the 4-4-2 that we were going to play, to the 4-3-3 is because of these advanced playmaker roles. I had 2 advanced playmakers and I couldn't decide how I was going to work them both into the park. So what I have done is move to the 4-3-3. The first one will be Callum Byrne, who will likely take up that advanced playmaker support role. It is his natural position, and you can see here of the 8 key attributes, he already possesses double figures in 6 of them. 5 of them. Well, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5 of 8, which is phenomenal. 9 technique as well. So he's going to be a very good player for us. 14 passing, 13 vision, and 13 composure is the main reason I want to get him out there. He'll play as the supporting one. He's not as good dribbling the ball, so we won't have him trying to carry it forward with his feet. Still only 23 and has been at the club for 3 years now. Moved into the team as a 20-year-old, so he must have been very impressive then. And still has a little bit of room to improve in his potential ability. So you'd think if he's playing the majority of the games as well, some of these 9s will very quickly turn into 10s as well there. Alongside him, Cameron Murray, who I'm very, very excited about. He is an ex-York, Frickley and Scarborough athletic player coming to FC United. Still only 20 years old. It's amazing that he's been involved with that many clubs already at such a young age. We move him to the attack advanced playmaking role, which is likely where he'll start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 key attributes. He's got double figure stats for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, and the rest are all 8s and 9s, which is absolutely phenomenal. Decent natural fitness, his pace and stuff is okay. You'd think he's still developing physically as a 20-year-old player. Tremendous potential ability, like Tom Brown, probably has the potential to play at a higher level than this. And if we give him that free role as the advanced playmaker, pushing on a little bit and give him the ball as much as possible, I'd say a lot of these 9s that you see along here are going to turn into 10s very, very quickly. So I'm kind of very excited about where he goes. Both are currently only on 1-year deals. We will look to extend those if they start to fulfill some of this potential. And keeping in mind, Tom Brown can also play as an advanced playmaker in those roles. So if something happens to one of those guys, they get injured, Brown may push on to be an advanced playmaker, and we might bring Perch into anchor midfield. Or the other free transfer, the 18-year-old that we signed, the ex-Oldham youth team player who hasn't actually moved that far. Oldham isn't that far from where FC United is based. Already comfortable in an advanced playmaker support role. Already has double figures for a ton of these attributes here. I think he'll be a very, very good player. Awesome natural fitness as well. He may even usurp Byrne for that role if he starts to fulfill some of this potential ability. But really thrilled to have him in there as well. For 18 years old and have that technical ability is phenomenal. For us to get him on a non-contract is even better. So really good depth in the centre of the park. I'm kind of happy with the group that we have there. But all in all, we have 5 specialist players that we're going to be looking for those 3 roles. Keeping in mind, Dean Stott can also anchor a midfield, as can Scott Cheatham if need be. And I think Matty Wolfington can drop back as well. On the wings, let's have a look at the right wing first. We might have a look at Craig Linfield, who will likely start the season as the right fullback. He's an ex-Liverpool junior from back in the day. Interesting the next Liverpool junior would go and associate himself with a club so closely related to Manchester United, but I guess it's a business, needs to get paid. Never made a first team appearance for Liverpool. Went out on a couple of different loans, places like Notts County, Bournemouth, who of course now in the Premier League, before going on free transfer to Macclesfield, Accrington, Kidderminster, where he made a collection of appearances at the League 2 level before dropping back down with Chester and now FC United. 32 appearances, 10 goals last season. Is very impressive for a winger. He can also play up top. His versatility will be important. If we do switch to that 4-4-2, he can play as the right midfielder as well, which is great. Just really good dribbling ability, solid finishing for a winger as well. Good stamina, decent enough pace. I think he's going to be very solid. Though he will be going toe-to-toe with Sean Cook, who also looks to be a very decent player. He's more comfortable as a shadow striker, so his versatility will be important if we do switch to that 4-4-1-1. He can fulfill that role, but we have had him training as a winger with the attack function here. You can see here, good technical ability. He can dribble a bit. His crossing will improve with time. He is only 22 years old after all. Decent flair, off the ball movement. His pace is very good. Probably just outdid Rory Fallon in terms of pace and by having that little bit of technical ability as well. So very much looking forward to seeing his development as well. A lot of these stats could move into double figures very quickly if he gets an extended run in the team. And watching Linfield and Cook go toe-to-toe for that right wing spot will be very interesting and a decent little subplot for the entire season ahead. On the left, we are going to convert Jerome Wright, who is more favoured as being a left wing back, into a left winger. Reason being, we are going to try and get him crossing and dribbling a little bit more often. For a defensive player, his defensive ratings aren't that good. Only 5 tackling, 6 marking. I'm not going to play him back there. I think he's a liability. Brownhills were a little bit better. But he does have really good crossing, really good dribbling, and he does have a left foot. That natural balance is always great. Good pace as well. Decent flair. So I think he has more than enough in terms of stats to be a solid attacking left winger. He has been training on that role throughout the course of the season. He's got decent long throws as well. So I guess that brings something from a set piece. But if it doesn't work out with him, we do have another option. Our only injured player at the moment is Matt Warwin. He's a St Kitts and Nevis international. I think he actually gets called up at some point in the season if you stay long enough. If we set him to winger attack, he is a left-footed player as well, so that natural balance is going to be great. Good acceleration, decent enough pace, though they do seem to have dropped in pre-season. Good off the ball, good flair. It's just his technique needs a little bit of work. He's 25, so I wouldn't likely see him improve any further, but more than capable of playing as a left winger if we need backup at that position. So happy with him, and given that he can also play as a striker as well, his finishing should be okay for a wide player. Which brings us to our strikers, and this is the only position where we've retained 3 players for one spot. Reason being, if we do switch to that 4-3-3 that we look at, if we do switch to that 4-4-1-1, the finger formation, I'd like to have an extra player there. I wouldn't want to try and do it with only 2 strikers fit and available to me, though we do have some versatile players in the likes of Warwin, Cook and Linfield that can play up top if we need be. So let's have a look at, now this is where, I know this question's been asked me before in different seasons, how I decide who's staying, how I decide who's starting. And I go entirely on someone's suitability for their role in a tactic, not necessarily who is rated higher, who has the highest star rating, anything like that. I pick the teams on entirely their attributes and how they fit into the formation. So Greg Daniels will likely start the season. He is actually rated as the lowest current ability striker that we have at the club. But if we have a look here, set him to advance forward and attack. He has, of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Of the 13 stats that are key, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the 13 stats. Already at double figure level. Got a couple of 8s and 7s in here as well. They may improve if he plays quite a bit. The one thing that counts against him is his finishing. He has been working on it throughout pre-season, but you can see there a 7 rating isn't great. I think he still has enough about him in terms of pace and natural fitness and agility to kind of counteract that. He has good technique, so his shots should usually be good and he should be able to get them on target. And you can see here his history with the club is pretty long. He's scored 22 goals in just over 100 appearances for the team. So despite only being 22, he has made a ton of appearances for the club and will likely give him an opportunity starting as that advanced forward. That is despite Matty Wolfington being rated as one of the best players at the club. He's more comfortable as a shadow striker, though he is also natural for the right wing positions and striker roles as well. We may even look at him on the left wing too, if we need to. If we set him to left wing and attack, you can see here he's got okay technical ability. He's not the quickest in the world, but he's an option if need be. As an advanced forward, you can see it's his most comfortable position when he's playing up front. Doesn't have a whole lot to offer in terms of physicality or technique, but his finishing and off the ball movement are fantastic. Really good determination and anticipation as well. So that's why he's likely not going to start, despite being backed as one of the better players in the team. It's really his finishing and off the ball that are his 2 bigger attributes. So he's a different striker than what we have with Daniels. Daniels is more of a physical, run all day, piss off all the defenders type. Maybe Wolfenden has a little bit more tactical now, so I would guess. Moves a little bit smarter, a little bit better a finisher as well. So watch out for him. And probably the third choice in that is Tom Greaves, who is a club legend at FC United from what I can gather. Has scored a lot of important goals, including 34 in 45 appearances back in 13-14 in the Northern Premier Division. So knows where the back of the net is. If he can find it early, he absolutely will be good for us. Though he's likely the third choice coming in early into the season. Very comfortable as the advanced forward with the attack function. His finishing is very, very good. He's the wrong side of 30 now. I'd expect the majority of these attributes to go down, given that he's the wrong side of 30 and on a part-time deal. Solid strength, solid pace, solid jumping reach, solid acceleration as well. Not likely to see a tremendous amount of improvement from him, which again serves to show why we're giving Daniels the nod ahead of him. But good off-the-ball movement, good finishing, good anticipation as well. So very similar to Wolfenden in that mould. And if we do make a change to the 4-4-1-1, it'll likely be Daniels and Greaves going for that advanced forward role, and Wolfenden and Cook competing for the shadow striker position. So the versatility that these guys offer us is tremendous. Anyway, that's everyone. That's how we decided who was staying and who was going. Each of these players had higher ratings from their key attributes than the ones that left in those positions. It's also how we identified bringing in both Grant and who's the other one? Abbott. Now, what I have done is taken all of these players and set their transfer status to not needed. I know that sounds insane. Like, why would I do that? Why would anybody do that? At this level, particularly with part-time contracts and non-contracts, players' playing time and their expectations regarding playing time are entirely down to their squad status. It's similar to the A-League. Like, if you gave a junior player an under-23 homegrown contract, or what they used to be called, which was an under-23 marquee contract, they would automatically get set to first-team player. So you kind of had to play them. You wouldn't give those contracts to someone that you were using as like a hot prospect because they expect to play every week. The reason everyone here is set to not needed is I don't want anyone to have any expectation about what their playing time is, because it may not necessarily be reflective of how what the time they're actually going to get. No one seems to have gotten too upset about it. They know what lower league football is, so they are more than comfortable with that. But if need be, we might use it as a bargaining chip if we have to extend any contracts later in the season. At present, the only ones with contracts beyond this season are two that I've given out. I gave both King and Ashworth longer term deals to get them to take less money. I managed to talk King down. He was on a non-contract, but he was on £200 a week as an appearance fee. He's now on £100 a week on a 2-year deal. Ashworth dropped down from £350 a week to $250, so he's very important. Cameron Murray will likely try and retain just by way of sheer potential that he has, still being 20 and already being so comfortable in that advanced playmaker role. But pretty much everyone's playing for contracts so far this season, including these guys down here that are on non-contracts. I'd love to sign Tom Brown to a part-time deal, but he won't do it. He's not ready to enter negotiations. Matt Warwin doesn't get one because he wants £300 a week, as do Jerome Wright and David Perch. If we go back and have a look at them according to their general info, Perch at 34, Wright at 29 and Warwin at 25 aren't likely to improve any further, so giving them long-term deals for that amount of money is just insane. There are already better players. I wouldn't say any of them is considered like a superstar for the team anyway, so why offer them a big chunk of our wage budget to have someone on the books that we don't necessarily need? Grant and Abbott will get the opportunity to earn a contract, earn a part-time deal for the season ahead, both being Abbott being 20 and Grant being 18. They will both likely get many opportunities to earn those deals. As soon as Brown wants to come to the negotiating table, he will get a part-time deal. I'd love to see his development continue and have him really start working harder on that anchorman role. It's tough when he's on a non-contract to get him comfortable in that position, but let's see if we can get him to fulfill some of this potential. And the first step to doing that is getting him at the club on a regular basis. The rest of the players are entirely playing for their contracts next season. If we do well, if we go up, something like that, if we have players that perform really well and we don't go up, that's how I'll be looking to retain people going into the future. But only two players that would be looking to retain into next season at this. Probably have a look at the club expectations and the finances and that sort of thing. So the expectation that I've set for this season is that we're going to finish in the top half. It was the highest I was able to set. I would have easily gone and said that our expectation was to make the playoffs. I think we have a talented enough group to at least get to that level. It's on par, if not better than the group I had at Bromley last year, and we trashed everyone with that Bromley save. So I think we have a good group and are more than capable of getting well and truly above and beyond the top half finish that's expected of us. Though I did just keep the expectations for the cups as the minimum. So I think we're just expected to win one round in both the FA Cup and the FA Trophy, which is fine with me. The only thing it would have done is increase our wage budget, and I'm already in very good control of the wage budget. If we have a look here, we're currently spending 4.3 a week on wages. Our wage budget is 5.8, so we're £1,500 under that already. The only reason that would expand would be if we try and sign some of these non-contract players to part-time deals. Anyone that's on a part-time contract already, we would just offer them an extra year and have them as part of the squad for next year as well, in an effort to drive their wages down a little bit. It's pretty straightforward, lower league management. The longer a deal you give someone, the less money they're willing to take. They take guaranteed long-term income over short-term high profit, short-term paychecks and that sort of thing. So our finances are still going up. We're currently have an overall balance of 484, which is absolutely phenomenal. It's as good as I've ever seen any club. We lost £13,000 this month, and that is purely because I terminated those contracts. We let go of those 5 players. 2 of them were mutual terminations. 3 of them were released on free. So that is the only reason that's gone like that. We're still looking to see this return back into the red throughout the course of the season, though we are about to start making loan repayments on our on the loan taken out to build our new stadium, which is Broadhurst Park. If we have a quick look at that one, you can see here Broadhurst Park, year built 2015, so this is the very first season we played at it. Very good stadium condition. It's not something that we're going to need to look to upgrade anytime soon. 4238, there are a bunch of seated stands, there's a bunch of seating as well, so I think it's okay to get us as far as like League 2 before we have to make any changes to it. Pitch condition is very, very good. And I've also had the groundsman set it to play very, very wide. You think that we're playing with a lot of width in our formation. It's an underrated aspect of it. I think people overlook it a lot. Play as wide as you can if you're going to use a wide formation. If you're playing like a 4-4-2 diamond, like with a narrow diamond, play with a narrow pitch. It's going to help you when you're at home. Maybe not so much when you're playing in like the Premier League or something like that, where the players get around so much easier, but at a lower league level, the pitch absolutely helps. Have it match your style. And you can see that further here, new era dawns at Broadhurst Park, a new era will dawn for FC United supporters as they officially move into their brand new stadium and play their first competitive fixture. It's going to be very, very good. Really the first time I've seen any club at this divisional level have a brand new stadium that they're moving into. So it's going to be great for the team, and it's the first time that they've really had a place that they can call their own home. We went through in that very first episode the history of sharing grounds with other teams and that sort of thing, so it'll be good. Anyway, let's have a look at our preseason results. Like I said, they were up and down. We started it very strongly against Hyde. I actually cancelled all our friendlies and just decided we were going to play teams nearby us. So most of ours were at home. These 2 away were just all we could organise. We just played nearby teams every Saturday for 5 weeks as a build-up to the season. The first 3 games that you see here, we actually played the 4-4-1-1, and it was a big part of the reason why I thought, okay, we're going to change our formation, we're going to get rid of it. It's not worked out. Game against Hyde, we were very good. Daniels and Cook getting on the scoring there. We rotated our subs through highly. Tom Brown was excellent in that anchor midfield role, much better than I expected him to be with an 8.7 rating. But the next time out, shit capitulated very quickly. We were on top for the majority of the game, and then a 5-minute period where we were trying to counter-attack against them. They just punted balls over the top. Gary G, Aaron Burns and Will Haney getting the goals there in a 5-minute spell. So 3-0 looks a little bit harsh. They only really played for the last 10 minutes, but our team was absolutely rubbish. We rotated heavily. Boyanu played this game and was fucking terrible. Matt Walwyn played and picked up his injury, which he's still out with. And a whole bunch of other players came into the team as well. So that one wasn't great. Then in this game, we actually went 4-0 down. And I thought, okay, well, fuck this. No, we went 5-0 down. I take that back. We went 5-0 down. I thought, okay, 4-4-1-1 is not going to work because we were playing Droylsden away from home and they were just like playing direct balls straight away. You can't counter-attack against someone who's playing that direct brand of football. So it was a big reason why I thought we'd scrap that formation. So we went 5-0 down, I think we went 4-0 down at half-time, and I thought, fuck this, I'm changing it. I went to the uneducated 4-3-3. We conceded once more to Jim Turl in the 62nd minute, but after that we absolutely trashed them. We scored 4 goals in the last 20 minutes of the game. It was insane. Burns, Greaves, Cheatham and Grant nearly got us back up to level pegging with them, but that was when I decided, okay, fuck this, we're definitely going to play with the uneducated 4-3-3. And since then we've been much better. We had a really insane 1-minute period here. We went 2 goals to the good up after half-time. Wolfen and Byrne both came off the bench and scored. But then Derek Wheeler scored. We kicked off. Derek Wheeler won the ball back, knocked it forward to Humphreys, who hit it first time, and they scored. So it's the first time I've ever seen 2 goals in the same minute in Football Manager, but it was crazy. 2 66-minute goals was enough to see them get a share. Well, not a share of the points because it's friendly, but to see them draw level. But we were much better than them. We were definitely a better side, so not too worried about that. And then everything kind of clicked for us in the last friendly against Trafford. A 2-0 win, Cheatham and Wolfenden with the goals in that game. We stuck to the 4-3-3. Everyone looks much more comfortable in it and in their roles. And I think a big part of that is the fact that they've been training in them for the entirety of the pre-season. Everybody, regardless of who they are, has been training purely in their role within the formation. So like Thurston's working as a right fullback, and that's all he's going to be doing going into the foreseeable future. We have had individual focuses from a few different positions. For example, the 3 strikers have been working on their finishing. The wingers have been working on their crossing. Our central midfielders have been working on their passing. and our central defence, all of our defenders have just been working on their tackling. That's just to, and all our defenders have just been working on their tackling. What did I do with the keepers? I think it's handling. Yes, it's handling. So additional focuses have been in there. The only one that complained about it was Jerome Wright. So we took his additional focus away, but otherwise everyone's just worked on their roles within the formation and getting comfortable in those roles for when the season starts, which is in 5 days. All right, chaotic episode. I've tried to do it as quickly as possible so it's not too long an episode for you, but we actually play 3 games in a week. We will likely do as the first episode of the season, the next episode, which is episode 4, for our first game of the season. We'll play these two. We'll play against AFC Filed or Filder or Field or however you pronounce that. If you know how to pronounce it, chuck it in the comment section below. Help a brother out. And we'll play the Harrogate game as well in that match. But the structure will likely be similar to the structure of the Bromley series and of course the Melbourne City one as well, where we just pick highlight games. We pick them out of the fixture list and go and play those. So we might play Filed and Harrogate in the first episode. I'll play the Gloucester one off screen and then we'll come back and play the Stockport and Brackley games. Stockport one should be very interesting. They've had a very interesting couple of years and seasons, but we'll go through that further in an episode. And Brackley have some good players that I actually know about that I can talk about further. So that'll be the structure. We'll probably pick like one double header each month. We might play one game in September after that. We might play one game in October. Might do a double header with the FA Cup and the Chorley match. But that'll be basically the structure going forward. Not recording every single game. Not going to force you guys to sit through it like that. And it's also way easier to sit there and play through a few games off screen as well in terms of moving the season along. You guys don't need to see every single episode. It would make for way too long a series and way too big a pain in the ass for me to edit. And really, it's all about me. I am the Vanarama Conference North Mourinho. I do whatever the fuck I want. So just to further highlight our expectations, top half finish for the Vanarama North. 4th qualifying round for the FA Cup and the first round for the FA Trophy. I'm absolutely fine with that. And really to have the lowest possible expectations for both the cups is handy for us because it's the luck of the draw the majority of the time. We could pull out a team in the FA Cup that's playing in like League 2 and there's no way we'd get past them. So we'll deal with that when we get to it. But I'm still very, very excited about this season and where it's going and all the stuff we have going on. Covered a tremendous amount again in this episode. We've gone through the transfers. We talked about the tactic a little bit further. We've gone through the squad, who we brought in, why we brought them in, and who's likely to start first round of the season. And we've gone through our board expectations as well. But it's an exciting time of the year. It's an exciting time of the series because as of the next episode, we actually start to get into some games. Hope you have enjoyed it so far anyway. I know the first 3 episodes haven't been great in terms of gameplay or anything because it's just been going through FC United and what we're trying to do, both with the tactics and the squad that we have. But if you have any feedback, chuck it in the comment section below. You want to like or subscribe, you're more than welcome to, but I'm never going to request it of you. I just appreciate your views. So thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys again in the next episode.